Because the people that make these political identities, who've crafted these Democrat and Republican labels, aren't using them to improve anything or make people's lives any easier. They're using it to draw a 9-mile-high wall around a voter bloc and manipulate voter turnout. And the higher that wall gets, the scarier the people on the other side start to look. Do you know who created the EPA? Richard Nixon.
Nixon's back!
Yeah, Richard Nixon, the man who's remembered as one of, if not the worst presidents ever. And not without reason. I'm not here to defend him. Watergate speaks for itself. But so does the Clean Air Act and the end of the Vietnam War. Unequivocally good things from an unequivocally bad leader. And that's a nuance I find fascinating, and one I wonder if we're capable of recognizing today.
Don't be such a pessimist.
I'm not a pessimist, I'm a consequentialist. Because that, consequentialism, is the best way to answer that question.
What question? Let me explain.
I live in Washington, D.C., and you can't tell now because I didn't head out to the monuments for a nice presidential backdrop because it's tourist season and it's stupid crowded there.
Crowded.
And it's political. Political! It's Washington, D.C., where everything is liberal versus conservative, Republican versus Democrat, donkey versus elephant, red versus blue.
They're lushing it up and fighting all the time.
And everyone you meet spends an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out whether or not you're in their camp. Or more precisely, they spend energy looking for a shortcut, a quick label, so they can decide whether or not you're in their camp without having to actually, get to know you. You're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're an environmentalist.
You're a communist too?
A communist? I'm not a communist.
And if they find a label for you, they can punch fast forward, grab that marker, check off a nice list of assumptions for your stance on gun control and abortion and the death penalty and carbon credits and, decide whether or not you're a human without the messy trouble of actually informing that decision by, talking to you.
Please talk to me.
If you say you're a consequentialist, you can short circuit all of that.
Molly?
A consequentialist looks for the best outcomes. And the funny thing about people, no matter what their beliefs are, everybody thinks their beliefs lead to the best outcomes.
I suppose you're right.
Of course I am. I always am.
So everybody assumes that you agree with them, and that you're in their camp and you're on their side and you're in their corner. And even if you might disagree with them, they'll think you're persuadable because you too will believe in the best possible outcomes. And by not agreeing with them, it just means that you don't have all the facts yet, because if you knew what they knew, then of course you'd be in their tribe.
One of us?
Uh-huh.
And you can stop talking about labels and start talking about issues.
Let's talk.
Which is really where we should have started. Thinking about these issues independently and not just blindly towing the party's line. Because that right there, that's my issue. Political identity. And it's bothering me.
A lot.
Political identity has happened because of a few things. One of which is that advertising is more effective.
Advertising? Wow!
Why do we have hundreds of cars that you can choose from? Ad agencies have learned to convince people that when you purchase something, you're identifying with it. You're using it to tell the world a little bit about yourself. What do you drive? Something built Ford tough or the ultimate driving machine? They'll all get you from point A to point B, but we also use them to signal a little bit about ourselves. Throw enough advertising around and all of a sudden, a real man would never even consider driving a convertible striped Mini Coupe. Or a young environmentalist feels like they really should buy that Prius once they can afford it.
Glad you care about the environment.
And this doesn't stop at consumer goods. As agencies get better and better at convincing you that you need their car in order to live that lifestyle, political parties are learning the same lesson, to make you need to identify with them. That you will use your political affiliation like you would a car to tell the world a little bit about yourself. And if you believe in gay marriage or support the troops or abortion rights or freedom of religion, then you have to vote for the party that owns that identity. And it would be unthinkable to even consider voting any other way at any other time because that political party is now a part of your identity. And it's becoming a problem.
We have a serious problem.
Because the people that make these political identities, who've crafted these Democrat and Republican labels, aren't using them to improve anything or make people's lives any easier. They're using it to draw a 9-mile-high wall around a voter block and manipulate voter turnout. And the higher that wall gets, the scarier the people on the other side start to look. Sometimes they barely look like people at all, and associating with them or even talking about them sympathetically just starts to make you look suspect.
Suspicious.
And once we start overanalyzing everything about our neighbors,
We've been watching you.
anything that looks like openness to an idea or just recognizing the humanity on the other side makes you a potential traitor to their cause.
Is that a problem?
Yeah, that would be a big problem.
Because it's grooming our tribal tendencies, and that's awful because maybe tribalism was good when we were, tribes, but we're cities and we're states and we're nation states, and these issues affect us every single day. And by demonizing anybody that doesn't think exactly like you, that's not helping anyone.
Not helping!
Everybody's just trying to make the world a better place for their kids.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
Political parties have latched onto the idea that the other party, whoever they are, is a force of nature that is trying to destroy the world, and that's great for them because it can drive voter turnout without actually producing results. You don't have to actually do anything in Washington if you can tell your voters that you've saved America just by keeping the other guy from winning the election.
God bless America.
But for us, it's created a big flipping problem where we can't find empathy for people we don't agree with.
You monster.
And don't give me some nonsense about how the other side is a bunch of neo-Nazi anarchists or tree-licking commies. There are outliers and there are extremists, but you're doing yourself a disservice to paint every liberal or conservative as the same hate-foaming ignoramus. If your side stretches from a moderate center to crazy fringes, why would the other side consist only of the fringes? Believe it or not, everybody is just trying to make the world a better place for their kids. And if we could see through these fenced-in voting blocks and recognize that, then maybe, just maybe, people wouldn't be so hostile towards other people that we can't even get to interacting with their ideas, and we could actually challenge each other's ideas to find the best way forward.
Hey, the only way to know is to find out.
It's the results that really matter. Think about the end game. Think about the goal. Think in terms of consequence. I'm working on a kids show. In short, it's 6 kids on an island, each with their own perspective, each with their own set of values and their own set of beliefs, and every single one of them just wants to make the island a better place. And the dramatic tension doesn't come from some big bad that's going to destroy the planet. These kids disagree on how to make the island a better place. And they're gonna figure it out. And I think we'll figure it out. My name is Laura. Thanks for watching. I'm releasing a video every other week, so until then, go have an uncomfortable conversation.
Well, goodbye forever.
Okay, let me explain. I live in Washington, D.C., and you can't tell now because I didn't head out to the monuments for a nice I blibbled. They're trying to spend that energy looking for a shortcut, a quick blah, 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 blah. They'll all get you from point A to point B, but we use them to signal. Why do we have hundreds of cars you can blah, 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 blah. They'll get blah, blah.